Good morning. Just leaving Boat Harbour campsite, and it's been an adventurous night. I arrived there yesterday afternoon about 2 o'clock after the very early start. Latter half of the walk was very hard. Fortunately, the early part was quite easy, so overall average, I guess. Shortly after I got there, we were joined by a northbound walker, Zoe. Funny story, she walked south to Walpole, caught a bus from Walpole to Albany, and was now walking back from Albany to Walpole. Apparently she likes Walpole so much she wanted to walk into it twice. Fair enough. Zoe decided she was going to pitch her tent outside the hut in the camping area and found a not particularly suitable site to do so because it's all very sandy. We were later joined by Maddie, who started considerably later than I did and didn't get into around about 4. We went to bed and it was quite frankly very warm. Didn't have any thermals on or anything like that in the sleeping bag, which makes a change. Julie went to sleep and then it started. It thundered down with rain and hail and it blew an absolute gale. Sometime in the middle of the night, nobody knows when, could have been 10 o'clock, could have been 3 o'clock in the morning, Zoe comes into the hut absolutely drenched. The tent had not held in the sandy soil and had collapsed on her, leaving it totally exposed to the wind and the rain. She hastily set up a camp inside the shelter, but the poor woman was very bedraggled and probably had a very uncomfortable night from there on. Still, she's left now. I've just left. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Maddie's still in bed. Our destination today is William Bay. At 20 kilometres away. It's slightly shorter than yesterday, but I've a feeling that today really is going to be beach walking, sand walking all the way, including a 7-kilometre stretch on Mazzalotti Beach further up the track. Weather now is clearing. It's still very windy. It's cold, but that's fine, that suits me. As long as it doesn't pour with rain like it did earlier on, I shall be happy. This is Boat Harbour, apparently. A very popular fishing spot. Nobody here at the minute, but there were obviously people here last night. We could hear them and in fact see them up on the rocks. Despite the hard work of the sandy beaches, I have to say that the more I walk this path on the southern coast, the more I like it. It's becoming my favourite part. The views are outstanding, even on a cold, windy morning like this. A scene like that is gorgeous. Well, I'm 2.5 hours in and I can look back that way to Boat Harbour and see where I started. So far today it's been 2 snakes, and after 2.5 hours I've gone a very depressing 7 k's, which is an indication of how much slower it is walking on the sand dunes. What's really making my day right now is I'm looking out at the ocean and watching 2 whales make their way to the coast, splashing and jumping out of the ocean. Well, I've been going for exactly 3 hours and I'm exactly halfway along. According to the map, this junction marks the halfway point. Not that it knows it, it just does. From this point we can look over to what is effectively our future. Over there in the distance you can see a long white beach. It's about 7 k's long and we have to walk all of it. There's also down at the left hand edge of that beach the next inlet. We crossed an inlet yesterday, the Irving inlet, with the canoe. Today we cross another one. There are 4 in total. This is the Parry Inlet. Now it's been a bit of a mystery up until now because nobody's been able to tell us much about it. It can be anything from impassable to waist deep to knee deep to ankle deep to jump across it. I have just been told by a northbound walker that today we jump it. Well, this is a bit out of place on this track, especially down here on the coast. Apparently it's an old lime crushing quarry. Scant evidence of old industry. Looks a bit like the surface of the moon. Well, this is the Parry Inlet camping ground. We've got water if we want it. We've got showers if we want them. And we've got tents and caravans everywhere. What we don't have, unfortunately, is the one thing I would really love right now, and that's a shop. I could really go on ice cream right now. Right, well, I've just stepped onto Mazzalotti Beach. I have 7 kilometers walking on this beach. A couple of northern walkers I just spoke to, a couple of lovely ladies, Anna and Kim, have assured me that at least half of it is good hard sand. The rest of it, not soft, but not as hard as you'd like it. Well, since my luck on this trip is holding out still further, this is the Parry Inlet. The Irwin Inlet we did by canoe yesterday, and today the Parry Inlet is nothing more than a sandbar. We have the inlet over my left shoulder, and if I spin it around we have the ocean on my right shoulder. In between the two, nothing but a completely dry sandbar. So no stepping over, no wading through, and worse still, no having to go all the way around it, which would mean a 25k detour. I'm 3/4 of the way along the beach now, and as the lady northbound walker said, it's gone awfully soft. My pace has come right down and it's very hard walking. Not only that, but it started to spit with rain. I've got a horrible grey cloud sneaking up behind me that may or may not dump a bucket of water on me. Oh, at last I got to the end of the beach. Most of it was fine, but the last 2 k's was really hard work. The weather is getting worse and worse behind me. I'm really hoping I can get to some sort of shelter before it buckets down. The exit off of this beach is so steep, they provide you with a rope to climb it with.
I arrived at William Bay's shelter a little damp, but otherwise unmolested by the rain. Finding a couple of packs in the hut, at first I thought I was joining a couple of northbound walkers, but it turned out to be a couple of sightseers just out for a day walk, with a rather grandiose idea as to who I was.
We're just day walking, nothing heroic like you.
Well, it turns out they were a couple of day walkers, just come for the view. So now I've got the place to myself, temporarily, till Maddie turns up. And anybody else, of course. It's a standard hut, water, campsite's at the back. It'll be my bed for the night, position A as far as I'm concerned. Tucked in the corner. Try and get these clothes dry. It drizzled on me. It didn't rain, just drizzled, and now it's clearing again. Which is all very well, but everything's damp, of course. And there's no fire to dry anything with. Right, that's a little bit better now. Started to set up camp. Got some clothes out to dry. I'm starting to warm up. Paperwork time. Done. Still got the campsite to myself at the minute. Maddie will be along in a minute, no doubt. Whether anybody walks in from the south, nobody knows. And could just be Maddie and I here tonight. Very sheltered little campsite. This one, there's no views. I haven't explored much. Unlike the other night where we had grandstand views of the coast. Just planning tomorrow's trip. We are at last on map number 8. There are 8 in the series. This is the last map. This takes us from this campsite all the way into Albany. Denmark tomorrow. I've got accommodation at the Blue Wren. Again, decent meal and a shower. It's nice having these every 2 or 3 days, or 4 or 5, rather than the 2 weeks I had to put up with at the start. That was just too long. Much more civilized down here. Very heavy walk today. 7 kilometers on the beach. Really took it out of my leg muscles. The soft sand towards the end of the beach was far harder, and I was being chased by the drizzle all the way. Tomorrow's walk is considerably longer again, I believe. Off the top of my head, I think it's 24 k's. No, it's only 20 k's. Even better. I've done 4 k's already. I like that. 20 k's tomorrow. And I've just been told by the day walkers that were here when I arrived that there's a large bump in the middle of it. Oh yeah. Mount Hallowell. That's going to be a hell of a climb tomorrow. Still, the rest of it's nice and flat. So once we get up and over that, we'll be done. Up early tomorrow morning. It's always a much bigger incentive to get out of bed early when there's hamburger and chips or something waiting at the end of your walk. Good morning. Just leaving William Bay campsite, 7:30 in the morning, and as you can see, it's a miserable day. Didn't really rain overnight, just drizzled all night. 20k walk into Denmark today. It's a day of lasts. Today we start the last map and the last guidebook. When we hit Denmark, we hit the last town before Albany. Last chance for a laundry, last chance for a decent meal. Maddie is out of bed. The lure of the Denmark bakery has got her out a lot earlier than normal. She's looking forward to the town as much as I am. As I said, it's a 20k walk into Denmark with one huge hill between me and there. Having got to the trailhead at the Denmark River, we then got to walk another 1.5 kilometers to get into the town. But I will be staying at the Blue Wren tonight. They are a very helpful outfit down there for Bibbulmun walkers, and they will take me by car around the 3rd inlet of the trip to the Nullakai Peninsula, hopefully tomorrow morning. For now, we walk on in the drizzle, And according to Maddie's weather forecast, we should have a bit of sun by 10 o'clock. We'll see if she's right. Well, we have yet another diversion. I don't know how many that is, I've lost count. I've come to the conclusion it's impossible to walk the Bibbulmun track because they keep on changing it. It's closed due to works being done on the track. It's a 2.7 closure. The diversion is 2.7, so it doesn't matter either way, but once again I get to miss out on a little bit of the track. Right, well that's my 2.7k diversion done. I appear to have come to the end of it. This is the other end. 2.7 miss, 2.7 diversion. By my maths that's zero effect. Well, I've been going about an hour and I've gone 5k, so I'm actually not making bad time. It's still very drizzly. There's a lot of people on the track today, and then it suddenly occurred to me that it's Sunday, so we've got a lot of day walkers out despite the rain. I'm back down on the coast again. This is Lights Beach. Just over there is Lights Beach car park. I like to think there was a coffee van or an ice cream down there or something, but I seriously doubt it on a morning like this. We'll see. Well, this is going to be very frustrating. I'm on Lights Beach, and as you can see from the signs, I have to climb that set of stairs. But we've got this between me and that set of stairs. I really don't want to take my boots off, and I really don't want to spend the rest of the day in sopping wet feet. So I don't quite know how I'm going to get across there. I've also been told by a beach walker that there is an event on today. Some sort of half marathon going on. So there's going to be an awful lot of activity going on around me for the next hour or two. Okay, done it. With the aid of some stepping stones over there and dodging between the waves, I've got across with dry feet. Surf's really up. You wouldn't want to go too wrapped up in that, would you?
As informed by the beach walker, there was a hive of activity at the top of the stairs with dozens of people milling around. As they were using our track for their event, one of the organisers at the check-in station took me aside and very successfully bribed me into silence with sweets and drinks.
Tell me all about it. What are we doing?
This is the annual Denmark Half Marathon.
Yep.
So so you're right in the mix of it. Yeah, we've got 200 runners. Yeah, so they're doing a half marathon, a 10k. We've also had a 2k. This is our local MP, Jane Kelsby.
Hello.
Yeah, she's Eddie everywhere.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Member of Parliament.
Okay.
We're in Blackwood.
Yeah. So you've come to the right.
I have.
Right time.
I
You've
have.
come for the snakes. And
I've got
bananas.
snakes, I've got bananas, and I've got drinks. You people are wonderful. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And I hope your event goes off fine.
Great.
It has to be said that they were all very concerned for my safety, with the organisers making sure that the runners were well aware of my presence on the track, not wanting their event to impede on my walk.
That broke up a dull day. I'm having to keep very much to the left of path in the slow traffic lane as I get passed by dozens of, quite frankly, exhausted runners. Got snakes, free drink, and a banana to enjoy later on. Okay, I've left the runners behind me and I've ascended up the ridge, and through the gloom we have this massive bump around Hallowell. Now there is a road that goes around the bottom of it straight into Denmark, and it's flat, but no, the track goes right over the top. Well, this is the road I was telling you about. A short, straight drive around the base of the hill to Denmark. And one would be sorely tempted, especially if it was pissing with rain. However, the track goes up the mountain. So in order to do the track properly, we have to go climbing. Well, that looks a bit daunting. I don't have to climb over it, but wow. Well, that was a hell of a climb. That is the top of Monkey Rock. You can see it to my left there. I don't doubt they brought us up here for a reason, and this has got to be it. Look at that view. With Denmark nestled down in the bottom left there, we're looking at the inlet, the next inlet crossing. This one's actually quite easy because we do it by car, but we'll cross that bridge tomorrow. But over there is the Nullakai Peninsula. Once we hop over to there, to the first hut, probably tomorrow at Nullakai, we are on the final stretch. That is the final coastline leading into Albany. Maddie's forecast that the sun would start peeking through at around about 10 has sort of proved correct, but unfortunately looking over to the west we can see the next rain coming in, so removing my rain jacket as I planned to do isn't really a smart thing. I'm going to take a couple of minutes up here and eat a very welcome banana. The way down the mountain is considerably quicker, although I have to say equally as dramatic. Well, I've at last reached the bottom of the mountain. Took a while, but at the foot we find the first signs of civilization I've seen in a little while. Got private homes here and the distinct sound of dogs barking, kids playing, and traffic. Having finally entered Denmark, I'm beginning to look forward to the end of the day's walk. You take a look at the map and you find out that because Denmark is an albeit charming little town, it is a sizable little town, and having just entered it I've still got 5 k's of walk to get to the trailhead. So I've decided to stop for 10 minutes, put Bella down and enjoy the scenery. I can also take my rain jacket off. Given that Maddie's forecast was so good, I now know that it's not going to rain for the rest of the day. The walk into Denmark's quite a pleasant one. I've actually quite enjoyed it. It's fairly flat and there's lots to see, all sorts of interesting waterside properties that pass the time. The last 500 metres of the track into the trailhead by the Denmark River is an old railway embankment, evidenced by the fact that this old railway gauge line is still here, looking somewhat neglected. Now, just across the road here we have the Bibbulmun track trailhead, which is the official end of this portion of the walk. The reason it ends here is because just down to my left over there is the wharf, which takes us to the edge of the inlet, the third inlet on this journey, the Wilson Inlet. The trouble is, getting across there isn't as easy as you might think. There are no canoes. You certainly can't wade it. You wouldn't want to swim it. There are supposedly some boat services, but they are far from reliable. And the only solid way of doing it, really, is to do it by car. The fourth alternative is to walk it, and that would be a day's walk all on its own, so that's not happening. So for today it stops here, but it's not really as simple as that either, because we have to sign into the book, and that, I think, is going to cause us a problem. Even though this is the trailhead, there's no book here. Unlike Peaceful Bay, where they could have had a cabinet where it locked in, it's not here. It's supposedly at the Tourist Information Bureau. Along with my accommodation, the Blue Wren, it's in the centre of town. And that's 1.5 k's that way. So we keep walking. As I suspected, the Tourist Bureau in Denmark, as far as I'm aware, has possibly even closed down. Quite frankly, I have no idea where to sign the book. I will make further inquiries, but the trouble is, even if I do find where it is, my information says it's closed on Sundays. That's today. I should be able to sign in on Monday, but of course Monday is a bank holiday for our Queen's birthday. May she rest in peace. So they're not open then either. They won't be open till 9 o'clock on Tuesday, by which time I hope to be at least 1, if not 2 campsites away. So for the time being, my name remains absent from the Denmark register. For now, it's time to find my accommodation for the night.
Fate was to decree that Jill and I were to return to Denmark by car the following weekend, and I took the opportunity at that time to add both mine and Maddie's name to the register. Join me again next time as I cross the Wilson Inlet and start the final leg into Albany, and take a little time to reflect on my time on the track.